All right, so let me say hello and welcome to another weekly edition of Stock Market Mutterings. This is for the week beginning on June 17th. As always, I will do my best to take a grope in the murkiness, try to make some sense out of this market, try to find you some quality trade setups, share some thoughts and ideas with you, and hopefully helps you make a little bit of money. Now, some of you are struggling with your trading and you need a little bit of help. I'm going to post a link right up here on the screen. It takes you directly to our live trade room. If you need some help with that, check it out. If you have some hints, tips, suggestions, or anything you'd like to run my way, always feel free to reach out to me. Support@thelincolnlist.com. I'll do my best to get back to you as quickly as I possibly can. We'll begin, as always. We shall begin with the market. What about it? What do you think? Now, I thought, if we go back to last week, I was thinking we were going to see some sort of back testing. Maybe we would get down here a little bit lower towards the 10-20 moving average, which is like 284. I thought we might see just a little bit of back testing. In turn, we saw absolutely nothing but up and down, sideways, back and forth action. I mean, look at the upper chart right here. This is just from intraday on Friday. This is great for a day trader. I'm not going to complain because this is awesome for scalp trades, for day trades, for profits, if you're looking for some cash flow. I mean, this is a hell of a great setup, and it was on Friday. But for somebody that's trying to have a little bit longer time horizon, this is just, it's like being in a wash machine or something like that, tumbled around the dryer. But when you look at the daily chart here, it was pretty much just a small, tiny pullback, and then the rest of the week went sideways. Now, my thoughts and theories on this, which oftentimes can be wrong, but I always like to put thoughts into my head. Fortunately for me, I trade what happens, not what thoughts are in my head. But I was thinking maybe they're just kind of positioning this thing out for the Fed that's coming up. This is obviously going to be a pretty big Fed meeting, considering the market's just begging and pricing in these rate cuts. So it's like, and the market's saying they're not going to cut rates, but then, well, I mean, the Fed's saying they weren't going to cut rates, but the market's saying they want rate cuts. So somebody's going to be wrong. Somebody's going to win out on this, and we're going to find out a little bit more information. So I think there's a large group of people, or a large percentage, that think there might be one coming up here, but we're going to find out. We can't do it. Who knows? I mean, somebody does know, but it ain't us. We don't know. We're just going to have to wait and find out. So kind of look for the way this plays out. I think if you do get it, let's say a surprise rate cut or something like that, I don't see why you couldn't do all-time highs. I mean, the chart will tell you. If the chart wants to perk up and start pressing above the 290s here, which was the highs from the 11th, if it goes through that, there just really is not any resistance. There's none whatsoever until you get to all-time highs. I mean, sure, you could pull some out of there, but real resistance doesn't. I just couldn't see how all-time highs wouldn't get done. That's just my opinion. So watch that there. Now, if it does break below that and maybe this Fed meeting is kind of perceived to be not so good, I mean, that's what got the whole party started in December, the sell-off. Look for the 20-day moving average to get tested at 284. Again, it's just, to me, the way it looks right now is you had this massive rally coming off of the lows there from the 3rd of the month. And since that moment, just kind of does what it's done a lot. It just rips up there, 1,400 points or something like that on the Dow, pulls back 100 or so, and just rolls out sideways. So right now, it's a flag. That's exactly what it is. It's just consolidating the gains. It's holding the run up, and it's sitting here waiting for its next move. Now, is that going to be up? Is that going to be down? Nobody knows, but it looks like, more wants to go up. Obviously, a lot more than it wants to go down. But I think a lot of emphasis is being played here to this Fed meeting. So that's just my 2 cents. We'll see what happens on Wednesday, right? Now let's take a look at some individual names, because I think we have some pretty good setups. I'm going to give you some that I think will be in play for the whole week. And then I'll just give you some ideas of stuff that I think maybe have one-off trades and just something that should always be on your watch list. Let's start out with LULU here. I feel that this thing wants to resume its run-up. Now, earnings can always be a stickler of an issue, and this is why I've always recommended to people, you'll never really have a successful career if all you do is trade earnings, because you really lose your edge. You never know how the market's going to react to earnings. In fact, sometimes they react well at first, and then they retrace that later. I mean, it's really hard to tell. It takes a day or so to digest that. Now, what we've seen, let me see, I'll pull up the charts. I wasn't going to do it, but we had first of all, LULU is a very strong chart, very bullish chart overall. Now, I would kind of classify this as being a cult stock or a really strong momentum stock. And we saw this stuff in TWLO. Same thing with TWLO. It had a nice run up, had these earnings come in there in May, and it just really got barbecued that day. The stock just gets blistered. Then the next day it just kind of holds tight, and eventually works its way back up. And I think Shop, yes, the infamous, the great, the almighty, I think the Shop did the same thing. And I don't even see it on the chart. I might be confusing it with something else. But anyway, what I'm trying to say here is you see this move common throughout a lot of stocks, is they'll have an adverse reaction at first to earnings, then they'll pull in a little bit, settle, and then they'll start to rally. I think LULU might be one of those based on Friday's action. You know, it was pretty much an all-day sell-off, big, huge gap up on Thursday, sold off the rest of the day, just came basically back down to support, which is the moving average, is 10 and the 20 here. And then it just had a really strong rally here on Friday. So I feel this thing wants to start working its way back to 180. You probably need another day or so to get some more data and try to see if the chart pattern sets up well. But watch LULU. Maybe it's not a trade for Monday. I'm sure there could be a trade on it if you're watching it over and over again. But maybe it's something that develops, or you see a nice little breakout or a nice up move towards 180 as Tuesday, Wednesday rolls around. So I do like LULU. Now, one that seems to always need to be on your watch list has to be ROKU. I mean, this thing, I know the thing is up 300%, silly something like that this year. I get that. But it just continues to defy all odds for the short term. And I mean, every time this thing's been hit, it comes rallying right back. Every time it sells off, it comes rallying right back. To me, this thing right now, because of the way the daily chart looks, it's tough to make this an investment. Maybe that works. But I think with as much as it's moved up, it's hard to just sit here and bag hold this one, because anything can happen at any time, especially when you're talking about a stock that's up 300% or something like that for the course this year. I think it was like 40 to 102. So let's not ignore that. But right now, it's got the momentum and it's got the volume to sustain it. You'll see it when it decides it doesn't want to do that anymore. My point here is anytime you get an opportunity for a flush, it normally makes out for a really good trade. I'm going to show you a couple here that we kind of had success with. You had two back-to-back days here. This was, I can't even remember. This was Monday, yes. Starts out, sells the gap, washes out around the 7 to 8 period time zone. This is on the West Coast. This would be 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock on the East Coast. Builds a nice little double bottom, and you see a really solid ramp here. Now, for a trader, this is all you need. Just a nice little bounce like this from 99s to 101. I mean, you can make a fortune, very handsome and happy living trading something like this just on a scalp. Now, it does the same thing the next day. It starts out with a small gap, sells off, look, bottoms out towards 8 p.m. Again, 8 in the morning, excuse me. Bottoms out here, and then does the same thing. Puts in a nice little cash spike. So you could be trading these nice little spikes, and then after that, it just goes bonsai the next day, right from the open. So the point is, even here, did the same thing here on Thursday, a little small dip. So anytime you get a pullback or a dip or something like this, only today did you see something here on Friday where it kind of sold off late in the session. But anytime you get a dip, you don't have to just necessarily go in just because it has a couple of red bars. But wait for some of those early mornings, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, as I said, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock on the East Coast time zones. Watch for that flush to kind of get in there at those time periods. You probably see a decent little bounce out of something like this. It's just, even if it goes down, it's not going to go straight down. I doubt it's not a penny stock that's just going to get collapsed and halted. So it'll kick and scream the whole way down. I think this is a great dip buying stock overall. Probably not right now is the time to short that for those that are really wanting to do it. I think the time will come for that, but right now I think it's a great dip buying stock. Now, the other hand is these IPOs. You got obviously BYND, which isn't for everyone. But if you find a spot where you can get a good risk to reward, the thing about this is you never really know what the reward is going to be. Usually when this thing breaks a range, it just throws out $10 to $15 candles like it's nothing. I mean, that's just where this is right now. So you also have to be prepared for the draws that this thing will cause. I mean, you take a look at just Friday's movement starting from 142 and going to 157. That's a good day for a lot of stocks. And then going from 157 back to 147. So you're going up like 16, 17 here or something like that. Pulling back 10, ramping back up another 7 or 8. But if you can find these spots where you have a little bit of consolidation in this, and then you get a little range, there's cash here. This is something I still think here is not like, I would rather go overnight in ROKU. I don't think this is something that you could be investing in. If you have and you're doing really well with it, congrats to you. You're very fortunate for that. But at some point, the party ends here. Let's just be honest. And look, I'm a vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian for 20 freaking years. I love BYND. I eat a lot of this stuff. In fact, look at my Instagram account. I was pimping this stuff years ago. Loved it. Anyway, it's too steep. It reminds me a lot of TWLO, the way TWLO was working. It's like, okay, now you're just churning your float here, and it's a trading vehicle. At another time, I think it settles in. It may be worth looking at something as a longer term hold. But now, look for these range breaks. I mean, you got to have a bigger risk appetite here, because I think you got to give up a couple bucks to make this trade. It's for the more aggressive trader out there, but it can deliver the goods. If you get it right, there's a lot there. Now, one that might be a little bit more tame would be ZM, like a mini version. I like this one here if you get this daily chart break. It's 106. I know it's far away, but these things, look, I mean, they haul ass sometimes. It goes from 100 to 104 first thing Friday morning. So it's like, this is an IPO market. It's like, for some reason, it's like BYND started it, I think. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but boy, these things take off. They just take off, and that's that. So watch this one. I mean, if it gets strong, goes through that 105 up there, I don't see why this thing wouldn't go vertical and punch out $6, $7, $8 candle. So keep that one on there. So I kind of like those for just trades. LULU, something I think you could be more patient with. ROKU, ZM, BYND, those are just day trading stocks, I think, for right now. You might be able to get away with an overnight, but for the most part, I'd leave those. Now, I want to go back and look at a stock I've not had much success with. Once was one of my favorites. I did really, really well with it. And then I got to a point where I wasn't doing really well, which is that point right now with it. And that's Netflix. And I keep bringing this up because I brought it up last time about how big this area is right here, this 340, 338 spot. I mean, you're going all the way back to February. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now Friday, the 6th time that it's hit. Now, I would expect it bounces, because you've had about 4 or 5 straight reds right into it. Last time it did that, it got down in here and it rallied like 20 bucks. But each time this thing rallies, the rallies are less and less. So what I would look at this thing is to rally early on Monday, followed by a re-rotation a little bit lower as the week progresses. But you're back at this massive level, and you just have to watch a stock like this when it gets down to a certain level like that, and it gets butchered there a little. Got to watch it. You got to watch something like this, because you never know. And I think last I might throw in a little, I keep talking about this SFIX, Stitch Fix, but I haven't gotten on the same page with Stitch Fix. And when I say same page, I haven't even taken a trade on it. I keep looking and I go, oh, I missed that one because I was busy with something else, trading futures or something. Nice little daily chart. But the other day it kind of dropped real heavy down into the 27s. It clawed its way back, but I'm going to put this up here. I think if you make a move above this, you got some void you can fill up there. Let's say about 30 bucks, 40 right there. Somewhere you get above there, a good clean break of that. Should trade about 32 to 35, somewhere up in this area. So watch that one. So I've got LULU, ROKU, ZM, BYND, all as day trades. I think these are great day trading stocks right now. Be a little careful with BYND. Some days you get 30 bucks up, some days you get 20 bucks down. I mean, be careful with those. I think something like this SFIX, I'm having a hard time saying that. You can mess around with this one or be a little bit more aggressive with this one. And pay attention to Netflix. It's there at a very pivotal spot, and you're going to either see a really strong bounce of that or a really big collapse of that level. So anyway, guys, I hope this helps you. But when it comes down to it, it's hard to tell. When Monday bell rings, people got different emotions, different agendas, news events, ideas. We got the Fed coming up. Who knows what we're going to get? So as a trader, you got to be able to adjust. Maybe some of these work out. Maybe none of them work out. Maybe something else is going to come along we know nothing about. That's all trading is all about. So if you need help with that, visit the link that's on your screen. Until next week, trade 'em well, guys. Talk to you then.